Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Are we on Zoom? We are. Shabbat Shalom on Zoom as well. We're glad you're joining us for Shabbat. This is if you're not aware, this is a very busy night in downtown St. Thomas. It's called Miracle on Main Street, and all the streets are blocked off. I had to park way down on the waterfront somewhere. I was lucky to find a space there and walk up, and as I'm getting in my car, this man greets me. He looked familiar. I didn't remember who he was. He recognized me. I didn't recognize him. It was former Governor DeYoung. I was very embarrassed because I didn't remember who he was, and he remembered who I was. All right. And I remember in the governor's mansion when he was governor bringing our old Hanukkah that was dedicated in the synagogue on the island of St. Eustatius in 1761 and came here along with other precious things we have when the Jews there were traumatized and left St. Eustatius. I'll fix this a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So we lit it in the governor's mansion, and I presented him with a book, Through the Sands of Time, Our History of Judah Cohen, in which it records the bookseller here, Abraham DeYoung. So obviously he had Jewish ancestors, like many of the people on this island and on all the Caribbean islands, who have Jewish names but aren't necessarily Jewish any longer. And we hope they know that they're appreciated and their connection with the island is still there, even if they're not practicing Judaism. So we're going to begin with a beautiful song from Baghdad called Ki Erev Shabbat. The words are in your program. You have the little program there? Right in the beginning, it says Order of Service. We're just going to do the chorus. There are lots of wonderful verses, but just the chorus. We're doing an abbreviated service because of the Miracle on Main Street, so it's going to be shorter than usual. Ki Erev Shabbat Yishmereni Ki Erev Shabbat Yishmereni Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini Ki Erev Shabbat el yishmereni Ki Erev Shabbat el yishmereni Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini. It means if I keep the Sabbath, God will keep me. It is an eternal sign between me and God forever. So we're going to turn in our books to page 120, and we have some wonderful guests from New York, and they're going to help us bring the light into our Shabbat with the kindling of these Shabbat lights. You want to come up here, and the entrance is on this side. So you may have trouble squeezing in there, and that. Don't worry about that. That's last week's sermon. Forget that piece of paper. So why don't you try lighting the candles first? So okay. There you go. You got to push both at the same time. Push forward. Yeah, perfect. Amen. Yeah, you could. That's good. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, hear my prayer I sing to you, gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you.
Let us
Hear my prayer, I sing to you.
be gracious
To the ones I love,
and
bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you.
Let
Us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you.
You know, the Karaite Jews who don't follow the Talmud, just the Torah, when they interpret it very strictly when it says, do not light a light on the Shabbat, and they sit in darkness on Shabbat. But the rabbis said, no, it's not right to be in dark on Shabbat. And not only do we said we can light candles that will burn into Shabbat and keep light in our houses, but they somehow figure out that it's a commandment. They say, Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav. We are commanded to have light on the Sabbath. I'm not quite sure how they find that as a commandment, but they do. And I'm glad they ask us to bring light into our Shabbat, because often our week can be filled with darkness in difficult times. And somehow, no matter how many pressures you have weighing on you, they lift on Shabbat. We're going to turn to page 138, and we're going to sing a little bit of what we usually sing, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9 of Lecha Dodi. And this is the tune they sing in Jerusalem at the Reformed synagogue, Kol HaNeshama. I guess it's a conservative synagogue with a Reformed rabbi, I'm not sure. Or a Reform with a conservative rabbi, something like that. And we rise for the last verse to greet the Shabbat. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 138. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmi'anu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'letiferet v'litchila Lecha dodi likrat kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Likrat Shabbat Lechuvanelcha Ki mekor haberacha Mehirosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila Lecha dodi likrat kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Hit orari kiva ore komi ori shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela lechadodi likrat kala yalala 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 b'nei Shabbat. Let's rise to greet the Shabbat as she enters at the door. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala gam b'simcha u'betzola toch emunei am segula boi chala lechadodi likrat kala yalala yalala. Please remain standing. B'nei Shabbat. Nekabela lechadodi likrat kala yalala yalala yalala. B'nei Shabbat. Nekabela. On page 144, please remain standing for Hatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabba v'yalma divrach yir'utei v'yamlich malchutei. Page 144. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba mivarach Le'alam ul'almei alamaya Yitbarach
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitabar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Kodesha B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran v'alama v'yimeru Amen.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. Page 149.
This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv avarim.
Amen. Page 151.
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Israel.
Please concentrate on the oneness of God. Close your eyes. Make yourself part of that oneness.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch
page 154. Please join me. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kishartam li'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'chetavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'hisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Ani Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 157.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, and that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Page 138. Bam bam bim bidi bam yabadam bam bim bam yam bam bam bim bidi bam yabadam bam bim bam dai 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 yabadam bam bim bam dai 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 yabadam bam bim bam mihi kamocha bailim Adonai mihi kamocha nedar bakodesh Nora dilot osefele Nora dilot osefele Yam bam bam bim bidi bam yabadam bam bim bam Yam bam bam bim bidi bam yabadam bam bim bam Ay 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 yabadam bam bim bam Ay 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 yabadam bam bim bam Ma'alechutecha ra'u banecha Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze'eli anu ve'ameru Adonai yimlok le'olam va'ed V'ne'emar ki fadar Adonai et Yaakov U'galo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Please turn to page 160. 161.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amor Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. Thank you. We're going to begin our tefillah, which starts with the meditation on page 164. And the way we approach this is it's our personal time. Each one of us has a little personal time with God. Remove yourself as you can from the people sitting next to you and enter into God's presence if you're able to. But we sort of help each other get the courage and to do that by singing the first three blessings together. And then you're all alone on your own. And when you're ready to step out of that space with God, just be seated. So please rise. We definitely have to rise to go before God. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rachevka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei v'Nehem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל, אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד. מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך ממית, ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני El HaKadosh. And we're concluding in silence the rest of our Amida, beginning on page 172. Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yeru. We are going to share prayers for healing, for those in need of healing. All of us need some healing, but we really are, in our thoughts, we have others in mind. There's a long list of people in this program who people have asked for us to pray for their healing. Please intend your prayers for all of them. But we'd like to mention out loud anyone that you're particularly concerned about. Say it very loudly, yeah? Pesach ben Miriam. And Miriam bat Shoshana. Sanchez and Pete. Mary Sanchez. Okay. Anyone else? I'd like to ask the people on Zoom if they have anyone that they are remembering today in particular for healing, whether they're on this list or
Ross.
not. Say it again.
Evelyn Ross.
I'm going to add my prayers for Paul Fiertzik, for Jim Tunick, for Jackie Jeffries, for Steve Rockstein, for make sure I remember. Well, especially our prayers, all of our prayers for Henya Fetterman right now, who's still fighting for her life. As we think of them, we ask that God give them the complete healing, the refuah shlema that they need, that it be the kind of healing we hope that they wish for, but certainly the healing that God knows they need. And may it be soon and complete, as we say amen. Renew Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome. Where are you from? California. Tell us your names. Noah. And what is it? Vina. And introduce yourselves as well. Great. We're glad you're all with us in our small congregation. You've made us greater tonight. Well, except for the latecomers, we know that, but you don't. We were going to abbreviated service because of the miracle on Main Street. And we believe in miracles, right? So, this week's Torah portion is, it's the continuation, really the beginning of the Joseph part of Jacob's story. And you all know this story very well, yes? It's your name. Okay, so you especially know it. I'd like to share with you a little teaching from Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who was the chief rabbi of the British Empire. I think he's no longer alive, but I'm not positive about that. But he taught a lesson that each and every human being should know and understand, that he or she can always make a difference, and even a huge difference, which is sometimes hard to believe when you think about the billions of stars in this galaxy, the billions of galaxies in the universe. God's a busy entity, right? And yet even, the universe is so big, you'd think that God could cover everything. God can't. God has made a place for us to be co-creators, to each of us to do something important. And there are 8 billion, almost 8 billion people in the world, but each of us counts in ways that we often don't even understand, usually don't understand. But so we almost might seem like we're just a grain of sand on the ocean, on the seashore, but we're so much more than that. So what does the Torah portion tell us that would make us believe we can make a difference in this world, even as one single person? So it all begins with a tension that existed between the brothers, the sons of Jacob. You remember what the tension was all about? We can share it. Who knows the story? What was all the stress about between, what did the brothers resent? Jealous of Joseph. He was the 11th child, and they were very jealous of him because their father loved him, Jacob loved him more than the others, and made him this beautiful coat of color, many colors, right? So they were jealous. They were envious of that position that their younger brother had to their father. And that special coat that he had just was a provocation to, it would spark their anger. So at a moment of opportunity, when far from home, shepherding as they did, the brothers, while tending the flocks, saw Joseph approaching. Why was he approaching? His father, as usual, was sending him to spy on his brothers, right, to see what kind of job they were doing, which in and of itself breeded more resentment, right? So they see him coming, and they begin to conspire to do away with him. And the eldest brother, Reuben, then steps forward. Reuben is not happy with the idea that there's going to be bloodshed, that there's going to take the life of their youngest brother, despite whatever hard feelings they have. And he says to them, now the text is very interesting in the Torah. The text makes a statement of about Reuben, third person, that could not possibly be true. The Torah says, "Vayishma Reuven, vayatzilehu miyadam." Reuben heard them and saved him from their hand. Now, why is that not true? Because we know that he didn't save them, that he just said, let's save him, let's throw him in a pit instead of killing him, right? And we'll let him die there, knowing he would come back later and rescue him from the pit, which didn't happen because he was instead sold, I guess, by the other brothers to the Ishmaelites into Egypt. So here we have this statement that Reuben saved him from their hands, which did not happen. It was something he wanted to happen. It was something he intended to do. But it worked out differently. So the Torah says Reuben wanted to save them, and if only he had known how the story would continue, it would have been different. We never know how much we might affect the lives of others. What he did, even though he didn't accomplish it the way he thought, our tradition tells us that when you have good intentions about something, it's accorded to you as if you had done that deed. You'd actually completed that act of goodness that you wanted to do but could not for whatever reason beyond your control. Now, that happened in this island. If you go into that room, you'll see a plexiglass token awarding the Virgin Islands, and it was lent to us to put here, by the Wyman Holocaust Studies Institute, name is something like that, and they awarded the islands for our good intentions in 1938 when, you remember, the SS St. Louis came to go to bring refugees to Cuba, and Cuba changed its mind, and Mexico wouldn't take them, the United States wouldn't take them, Canada wouldn't take them. They went back to Hamburg, many of them to their deaths. The Virgin Islands said, we'll take them, and we will take, the legislature, the Senate at the time, passed a bill. We will take thousands of Jews. We have lots of space. We have 20,000 people. There's lots of free space in these islands. We'll take them. The governor, whose name was Kramer, but he was not Jewish, ratified the Senate's legislation, and then the anti-Semitic State Department made sure that President Roosevelt nixed it, and it didn't happen. So we were honored for good intentions. So know that your intentions are sometimes as important as the deeds you actually accomplish. They shouldn't be depreciated if you're unable to follow through on those good intentions. You will be considered by higher powers to have accomplished what you intended. So I remember small things. You might think of small things that you didn't think were important that, who knows, the butterfly effect will flutter through this universe. I remember with one family in St. Petersburg, the child was traumatized by a nursery teacher in the synagogue. He would get anxious even driving by the synagogue, but they managed to get him to a family service. And the family wanted to know how important I had been to them. It wasn't that I visited them in the hospital during 9 difficult months of pregnancy. No, it was that family service. He stood on his father's knees, and he was higher than everyone else, and I waved to him. The mother said, that wave made everything all right. I didn't know I did anything important, but that wave could change the course of his life in ways I will never know. So remember, sometimes your antenna will pick up on important things you do. Sometimes it won't, but know that you are important in this universe, even your good intentions, unfulfilled. Shabbat Shalom. Yossi is going to help me open the Ark, and we're turning to page for the Aleinu. We're going to do an alternative Aleinu, not the traditional one, but it's a very nice one. On page 500. Let's see, what is it? 587. 587. Please rise as Yossi opens the Ark. And by the way, this used to be called by the Sephardic people who built the synagogue the Heichal. There you go. Yes. It's the top of 587. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו b'govhei meromim. Hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, v'shamayim mima'al, v'al ha'aretz, mitachat ein od, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, Lamelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Discord. Please be seated. Before we depart, we remember our loved ones who have departed this earth, those we have taken in from our friends and neighbors, the martyrs of our people whose graves go unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been blessings to humanity. And we are remembering still the Shaloshim period for Stephen Redan and Sterna Sarah Fetterman. And the yahrzeit, the year anniversary of the deaths of members and those dear to members, Adele Berlin, Raymond Kamke, Morris Vidanke de Castro, who is our former governor and president of the congregation, Judith Fields, Leo Flashman, David Greenman, Daniel Lee Heftel, Abraham Heller, Samuel J. Carlin, Leah LeBlanc, Norma Lenkowski, Israel Levine, Romy Levine, Louis, now I just was told how to pronounce this, let's see, Louis Richwiger, George L. Rummelt, Helen Scheftelman, Hyman Shane, Steve Geller, Silverman, Sidney Werbel, Sherry Young, and those of our high members and those dear to our high members, Betsy Abrams, Morris Azralan, Leah Barth, Lena Benchimol, Anna Berkman, Irene Blackburn, Irving Block, Julius Bonin, Dee Brechner, Milton Chasen, Elsa Cohen, Charles Dash, Marcia Day, Miriam Dorfman, Esther Elweg, Abraham Freeman, Raymond Friedkin, Ray Guerin, Samuel Gordon, Nochem Gutenberg, Maurice Hazen, Hyman Isaacson, Perry Jaffe, Abraham Kahalas, Minnie Kegler, Gisela Kestenbaum, Darlene Klein, Harry Cornell, Rita Kupetsky, David Lefkowitz, Jeanette Liebson, Norman Levin, Milton Levitz, Estelle Levy, Samuel Lewin, Hyman Lebowski, George Marks, Nathan Meister, Louis Minster, Pamela Mitchell, William Nathan, Marilyn Paget, Beatrice Parker, Bessie Perlman, Domino Perry, Sidney Pestka, Edward Port, Stanley Reichman, Babe Resnick, Marvin Rzinski, Arnold Rodkin, Mildred Romanoff, Harvey Rosen, Ann Rubenstein, Louis Shore, Sidney Simon, Kate Solomon, Jake Spector, Charlotte Sporn, Jacob Steindler, Evelyn Troy, Gladys Warhit, Janet Weiss, James Wilson, Robert Waldo B. Wolf. If I have read a name that you're remembering that's important, please rise and tell us which name you're remembering, or a name we haven't mentioned that needs to be remembered. Good, Carol. For those on Zoom who couldn't hear what Carol said, she was talking about her father, Louis Richwerger. Anyone on Zoom remembering someone important? Then let us rise together with Carol and turning to page 589, or 598 rather, 598, we can find the words of Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah bi'alama divara herutei v'yamlich malchutei v'hayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'l'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alama v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. And we will join in those last words of the Kaddish as our closing song. And we're adding the words Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. It's in the program actually at the bottom. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Do you know what the word shalom? We all think the word shalom means peace, but that's an extended meaning. Its real meaning is wholeness and completeness. And when our lives are complete, when the world is complete, there is peace. So I want you to wish each other, bless each other with the words, Shalom, shalom, larachok v'lakarov, amar Adonai. Peace, peace unto you who are far, unto you who are near. If there are people in this world who are far from others and need to be brought in, bring them near. Shabbat shalom. And Shabbat shalom to all on Zoom. We're glad you're worshiping with us. We normally have a big oneg, but we can't tonight, so we just have wine and bread outside rather than a big oneg up in our other hall. It's being